Chapter 10, page 89. Out in the street, Ringo and his friends were still standing there, as though stuck to the pavement by some invisible force. "What was that?" asked a small, skinny boy who went by the name of Whippet. "Don't know," said the huge boy called Tank, scratching his head. "Well, I wasn't scared," said Ringo definitely. "Neither was I," chorused all the others quickly. "I was just going to have a word with that weirdo in the spacesuit when it got frightened and ran away." Yeah, his friends all agreed quickly. "Course you were, Ringo, course you were." "So I think," Ringo went on, he pointed at the newest member of his gang, "should ring the doorbell." "Me?" the boy gulped. "You said you weren't scared," said Ringo. "I'm not," he squeaked. "Then you can ring the bell, can't you?" "Why can't you do it?" asked the new boy. "Because I asked you first. Go on," Ringo glared at the boy. "Do you want to be a part of this gang?" "Yes," said the boy, wondering which was worse, meeting a spaceman and suffering the curse of alien life or making Ringo angry. He settled for the spaceman. At least he wouldn't have to see him every day at school. He edged toward Eric's front door uneasily. "Then ring the bell, Zit," said Ringo. "Or you'll be an ex-member of this gang." "Okay," muttered Zit, who didn't like his special new gang name much either. The others all took a few steps backward. The new boy's finger hovered over the bell. "Ringo," said one of the others suddenly, "what's we gonna do if he opens the door?" "What are we gonna do if he opens the door, Ringo?" Echoed the question while he tried to think of an answer. He looked up at the sky as though searching for an idea. Even Ringo wasn't being his usual confident, thuggish self. But before he could come up with an answer, he let out a shout of pain. "Arrgh!" he yelped as a hand grabbed him by the ear and twisted it very hard. "What," said the stern voice, "are you boys doing, hanging around in the street?" It was Dr. Reaper, Ringo's and George's class teacher from school. He had Ringo firmly by the ear and clearly didn't intend to let go. The boys were very startled to see a teacher outside the school grounds. They never imagined that teachers actually had other lives to lead or had anywhere to go but their classrooms. "We're not doing nothing," squealed Ringo. "I think you mean we are not doing anything," corrected Dr. Reaper in a teacherly voice. "Which, in any case, isn't true. You are obviously doing something, and if I find out what that something has to do with bullying smaller children, like, for example, George..." Dr. Reaper stared very hard at all the boys to see if any of them flinched at the mention of George's name. "No, sir, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir," said Ringo, who feared his ear might come off in the teacher's hand. "We never touched him. We were running after him because he left his lunchbox behind at school," said Whippet very quickly. "And we wanted to give it back to him before he got home," added Zit, the new boy. "And did you succeed?" said Dr. Reaper with a nasty smile, letting go of Ringo's ear just a little bit. "We were just about to hand it over," improvised Ringo, when he went into that house." He pointed at Eric's front door. "So we were ringing the bell to give it back to him." Dr. Reaper let go of Ringo's ear so suddenly that Ringo fell to the ground.
He went in there? Dr. Reaper questioned them sharply as Ringo staggered to his feet again. Yeah, they all nodded in unison. Why don't you boys, said Dr. Reaper slowly, let me have George's lunchbox and I'll hand it back to him. He fished around in his pocket and brought out a crumpled $10 bill, which he dangled in front of their noses. Who's got the lunchbox? Questioned Ringo. Not me, said Whippet immediately. Not me, mumbled Tank. It must be you then, said Ringo, pointing at Zit. Ringo, I haven't, I wasn't. Zit was panicking now. Very well, said Dr. Reaper, glaring at the four of them. He put the money back in his pocket. In that case, I think you'd better scram. Do you hear me? Scram! Once the boys, who didn't need telling twice, were gone, Dr. Reaper stood on the street smiling to himself. It wasn't a pleasant sight, checking that no one else was coming or going. He went up to Eric's front window and squinted through it. The curtains were drawn, so he had only a small opening to look through. He couldn't see much, just two strangely shaped shadowy figures, which seemed to be standing near some kind of doorway inside the house. Interesting, he muttered to himself. Very, very interesting. Suddenly, the temperature in the street dropped dramatically. For a second, it felt as though air from the North Pole were blowing in the street. Strangely, the bitter wind seemed to be coming from under Eric's front door. But as Dr. Reaper bent down to investigate, it stopped. When he went back to look through the window, the two figures had gone, and there was no inside doorway to be seen. Dr. Reaper nodded to himself. Ah, the chill of outer space. How I long to feel it, he whispered, rubbing his hands together. At last, Eric, I've found you. I knew you'd come back one day.